Okay, so let's dive right into an explainer about a chilling morning in April 2007. It's a morning that literally forever changed a family in Plainfield, Illinois. We're looking at a case that starts out just like, so many everyday suburban mornings, but then it completely fractures into a mystery that has baffled investigators for nearly 2 decades. This is the story of a 37-year-old mother of 2, Lisa Stebic. She was a woman with her entire life ahead of her, but in the span of just 20 short minutes, she vanished without a single trace.
To really wrap our heads around the bizarre nature of this case, we've got to look at the timeline. So April 30th, 2007, the morning started perfectly normally. Craig Stebic, Lisa's husband, walked his 2 kids, an 11-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son, to the school bus stop right at 7:15 a.m. Everyone actually agrees on this part, but what happens next? That's where the whole story completely falls apart. Craig told the police he came back inside the house and his 37-year-old wife Lisa was just gone, never to be seen again. She essentially vanished from the face of the earth.
Now, consider the sheer normalcy of the items she left behind, especially knowing she was a deeply devoted mother going through a really tense divorce. Papers had already been filed, and neighbors noted that, the tension in the household was simmering just below the surface. Yet our car? Still in the driveway. Her purse was inside. Her phone was left behind. There was no note, no goodbye, and absolutely zero contact with her children ever again. By all accounts, her whole world revolved around those 2 kids, so you really have to ask yourself, would a mother just walk away, leaving literally all her essentials behind? And that brings us to a frankly staggering number, 17. 17 long years have passed since that quiet morning, and to this very day, nobody has ever been found and absolutely no charges have been filed. Just take a second to think about that. Nearly 2 whole decades of complete silence.
Here's where it gets really complicated. Despite police naming her husband as their one and only suspect within just weeks, Lisa is officially still classified as a missing person, not a murder victim. Basically, in the eyes of the law, because there's no body and no definitive proof of death, she simply walked away. This creates this incredibly frustrating legal limbo that has just haunted investigators and Lisa's family ever since.
All right, moving on to Section 1, the corrupted evidence. So when police canvassed the neighborhood that day, they actually found something that absolutely should have blown the case wide open. But instead, it turned into one of the most maddening details in the entire file. The neighbor had a security camera facing the driveway, the exact camera that could have shown exactly who left the house that morning. But conveniently, it failed. When police went to retrieve the video to see if, Lisa walked away or if someone else showed up, the footage was corrupted, completely unrecoverable. The one camera on the one morning just happened to fail. Police noted it in their report, and with literally nothing to look at, they just had to move on. Following the disappearance, the behavior of the prime suspect raised some massive red flags almost immediately. Within just 2 weeks, Craig hired an attorney, invoked his Fifth Amendment rights, and just completely stopped cooperating with the police. To this day, he has never given a single interview about his wife's disappearance. He cited nothing because, well, he said absolutely nothing.
Now, this case blew up. It made national news. Nancy Grace was covering it nightly, especially when police finally executed a search warrant on the property. They brought in cadaver dogs, and get this, the dogs alerted multiple times to areas in the backyard and the basement. But here is the totally heartbreaking reality of the legal system. Suspicion is not evidence. Despite the dogs alerting, the police found absolutely nothing they could actually use in a court of law.
Let's look at Section 2, the grand jury twist. Just when the trail seemed completely cold and it looked like the case was going to stall out forever, a shocking break happened 2 years later. In 2009, a woman came forward with a massive revelation. She claimed she'd been having an affair with Craig during his marriage to Lisa. But honestly, the bombshell wasn't even the affair itself. She told investigators that before Lisa vanished, Craig explicitly told her he wished his wife was dead. Wow. Prosecutors finally thought they had the circumstantial push they desperately needed to move forward. You can practically feel the emotional whiplash of this case, right? So a grand jury was convened, the evidence was presented, and prosecutors really thought they had enough. But the grand jury shocked everyone. They declined to indict, no charges were filed. Just like that, the best chance this case ever had vanished, and Craig Stebic walked free again.
Which brings us to Section 3, the first 48 hours.
So how does a case with so many glaring red flags end up so legally paralyzed? When you stack up all these bizarre oddities, the lack of a legal resolution feels completely absurd. I mean, the cadaver dogs alerted. The neighbor's camera conveniently failed at the exact right moment. The only suspect lawyered up basically on day 1, and a grand jury reviewed all of this and still couldn't pull the trigger on an indictment. This brings us to a really haunting question. Is Craig Stebic the most carefully calculated criminal mastermind in the history of Will County, Illinois? Or did law enforcement completely bungle the initial investigation? Which of these 2 scenarios is actually the truth? Well, the answer lies entirely in what investigators did, and maybe more importantly, what they failed to do in the first 48 hours after Lisa was reported missing. In almost every missing persons case that goes cold, the first 48 hours is where the answer is buried. and it's usually in those critical hours before anyone even treats it like a crime.
Investigators have actually since acknowledged a massive tactical error on their part. They initially treated Craig as a grieving husband, rather than separating him from the scene as a primary suspect. Because they assumed he was just this worried spouse, the intense scrutiny that's required for a potential crime scene simply wasn't applied when it mattered most.
Just notice how quickly the case unraveled step by step. No one separated Craig from the scene, no one administered a polygraph before he knew he needed a lawyer. By the time detectives finally shifted their focus to Craig as a suspect, the yard had already been disturbed, the trail was completely cold, and he had permanently stopped talking. That window for easy answers? It had totally slammed shut.
And that leads into Section 4, still officially missing.
Beyond all the legal maneuvers and the police missteps, we have to remember there are real people living with this unresolved trauma every single day. I really want you to sit with these facts for a second. As the years passed, the original detectives retired, the investigation just stalled out completely. Lisa's family has never had a funeral, they have absolutely no grave to visit, but perhaps most devastatingly of all, Lisa's children grew up without their mother and they were raised entirely by their father, the very man police have never, ever stopped suspecting.
Lisa's mother gave this one really rare interview years later, and her words just perfectly capture the agonizing pain of a family denied closure. She said, "I know she didn't leave those children. I know it in my bones." It's such a powerful reminder that Lisa was a deeply dedicated mother who absolutely would not have willingly walked away from her life. Cases like this are exactly why we do these explainers. We don't dive in for the spectacle. We do it because these are real people, with real names and real families who desperately deserve answers. Every few years, the Will County Sheriff's Office reminds the public that the case is still active, because someone out there knows the truth about what happened that morning. So as we wrap up, I really want to leave you with this question. Who knows what actually happened on April 30th, 2007? If this case made you angry, good. It should. Keep that anger and join me in our next explainer, where we're going to look at a case in the exact same state, in the exact same year, but with a completely different ending. All because a detective refused to let those crucial first 48 hours slip away. I'll see you in that explainer.